going on? I'm Jamie Michael Joseph. This is the Strategy and Conversions podcast. And once again, it's great to say I'm joined by Mark Tanner.
Hi there.
How's everything with you? What's new?
Yeah, good, thanks. Good. What's new? I've taken on a couple of I've got a couple of more coaching opportunities that coaching projects that I'm involved in. Helping those are it's charity work, a lot of it, but yeah, just helping people along in their various situations. It is around debt and managing their finances, but it's coaching them as opposed to doing anything for them, but just trying to help them through the rough times they get into.
It's such a big area, isn't it? Like
Yeah,
finance, personal finance and stuff like that. I think, we'll probably get into a lot of kind of business finance in some of the episodes coming up. But I
yeah,
think personal finance is just as important.
very
And it's
much.
something that we never really get taught, do we? I mean, you go back to school and then, I mean, even if you kind of look to go online or anything like that, it's, the actual information, there's so much information out there, but the good stuff, the stuff that you actually need to know, it's
Yeah,
quite simple once you know it, but it's actually getting that information first, and like you said, sometimes you just need a helping hand, sometimes you need a coach.
yeah,
Yeah, mate,
yeah,
that's great to hear. That's all good.
yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think the financial side, you're right. I think school it's getting better, but there's a long way to go on money management and understanding credit cards and all this kind of stuff because they're still around. And things like payday loans and how they can crucify you within about 2 weeks if you're not careful.
Yeah, I mean, it's insane. It's scandalous, and the times we live in today, it should never be that way, right? I mean,
Yeah, no.
and again, coming up on the podcast, in the next few weeks and stuff like that, we'll flip it on its head and be the other way of saying, look, make more money.
Yeah,
It's like
yeah,
the opportunity is out there, the
yeah,
technology is out there. There's no excuse really to not start making some extra cash.
yeah,
It's as
absolutely.
long as you're willing to put in a bit of work and stuff like that, then it's all there for you.
Yeah,
But yeah, look, mate, obviously we had the podcast last week. We got back on it. Lots of messages just to say like, it's great to have you guys back and stuff like that, and a lot of messages about yourself and that make people, happy to see you in good health and stuff like that, which is awesome.
brilliant.
Our listeners around the world, I think it was like, I can't remember how many it was now, 30 countries and stuff like that,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
it's good to be back. And as always, look, reach out to us if there's anything that you want discussed on the podcast and stuff like that. But I think just to pick things up from the last one, we're going to run through two things on this podcast, and for our long-term listeners and anyone new listening, you'll get to figure out quite quickly that nothing is scripted, nothing is planned. We kind of jump on, we just hit record and we start talking.
And start,
Sometimes
yeah,
we look at a topic beforehand, so we might say, okay, look, this has happened recently, maybe an event in the news, maybe something's gone on, or we take a subject of business. We haven't done that this week. I've kind of just jumped in because there's two
yeah,
things that I'm going to talk about. So yeah, Mark's in the dark as much as everyone else. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. But the first point I want to talk about is following on from last week. The second point, like, is such a big business and life lesson. And you'll love this. When I get into it, you'll love it because you're just like, I know it's what you're all about and stuff like that. But we'll get into that shortly. But following on then from last week, we spoke about the whole kind of work and health balance, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's just massive. Just obviously looking after yourself, looking after your health and stuff like that. I mean, that there, I think we can't stress that enough. That whole kind of work-life balance makes perfect sense, but go further into it, the work-health balance is really what
health,
it's all
yeah,
about, you
yeah,
know? So that whole kind of thing of looking after yourself, I think that it's great to kind of talk about taking time out for yourself as well. So I know
mm,
you talked about it last week about, walking and health, like doing stuff for health, but just stuff for your kind of, maybe I want to say mental health, but just your kind of, your mentality and stuff like that, like
mm,
taking time out for you and just about finding different things to do. And I know we spoke about before, for me, I love TV, I love series and movies and stuff like that. It is my kind of escape,
yeah,
but the brain is always working, and I know we've spoke about it before with, different series where it's like, Breaking Bad, there's business lessons in there. Better Call Saul, there's sales lessons in there,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
and stuff like that. So yeah, I just want to kind of touch on like finding stuff to, but basically stuff that you enjoy to do. and finding time to actually schedule it in to do it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something I was taught a while back, that if it's not on the calendar, you won't do it. And I remember thinking, well, I'm not going to put in having a, playing a game of whatever it is. I'm not going to put it on my calendar. But it's just that old adage of all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. And it's if you're constantly thinking about, I'll say think about it, because I know sometimes we are thinking about it, even if we're playing around with stuff. But if you're constantly doing, yeah, you can, and yeah, you can become quite dull. And I think that I think it was I can't remember which coach it was that followed, but basically said I think it was Darren Hardy actually. So if you're going to spend time with your family and you haven't written in your diary that you're going to have family time, you'll let other stuff get in the way, and you think, but that's it. Sounds like it's too. Everything sounds it's too rigid and too structured. But like I said last week, that it's discipline that sets you free. You say, right, I'm going to spend this evening, and it's going to be family time, and then that becomes that family time thing takes on whatever you want to do in that family time. But you can say, right, no work, phones off, whatever. It's family time. And all of a sudden, you can start enjoying your kid, playing around with your kids, or having a chat with wife and friends, or whatever. Go out for a meal, watching a film, anything that you find that you enjoy. It doesn't matter what it is, you know. I love watching films and stuff as well, and I do spend a lot more time watching telly and watching films than I ever used to, because I always have thought that I used to think, oh, that's bad, can't do that. Got to be working, got to be reading books on this and books on that. You think, no, 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 you need that time out. So it's sticking that in your calendar gives you that. It means that you really are gonna look at it and say, okay, it's 5 o'clock or whatever. Now I'm going to down tools. I'm now going to spend some family time before I maybe carry on working into the evening. But that depends. It
I think
depends on how you are.
it. I think that's exactly what I was meaning to get at there is that there's the whole kind of hustle mentality.
Yeah,
It's like you should be hustling all the time. You shouldn't watch TV and stuff like that because you should be working. And I think there is that line, where for me, I've always been this pusher of look, work hard, but in a smart way, right? Is that if you need to sprint, you sprint, right? But you
yeah,
can't sprint the marathon. So it's like you
no,
need to
exactly.
like
Yeah,
obviously break it down and do things for you, right? There's no reason why you can't go all in for an hour, on what you need to do and stuff like that, rather than it, you spending the whole day doing it, that there's no
yeah,
reason. And it's like if you've done the jobs, if you've got those wins for the day, those wins count. You don't need to complete everything today. So
no, yeah,
it's like you can smash through it and obviously get into what you need to do there. But that whole kind of hustling thing, I do think you have to flip it on its head sometimes as well. And I think the amount of people that I've spoken with, over the years where they might say things like, oh, I don't work Fridays, or oh, I only work 4 hours a day, or something like that. When you actually break it down and you go, well, you have no customers. You
exactly.
have no
Yeah,
business. It's like,
yeah,
so you're saying that you don't, you don't work Mondays or you don't work Fridays, but really you don't work at all
yeah,
because you
yeah,
don't have
yeah.
the clients, right? So really you do need to take some of that time to get the wheels moving, to get that kind of foundation that you do have enough clients then to support you being able to take Fridays off.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's the problem is, and again, other coaches have, and this society has become a very, very much we want it all now. And so when we read these books like the 4 Hour Work Week and all this kind of stuff, you think, oh yeah, I'd love to do that now. I think, no, you can do it. Aim for it by all means. Have that as a strategy. Right. I want to get to a 4 Hour work week. What do I need to put in place to make that happen? And it could mean that to start with, you you have that you have that in mind as a goal, and you think, right, I need to and you again, we were talking strategies is our big thing, isn't it? You don't just say, right, I'm going to go and work and do this. You think, right, okay, if I want to do that, what does that mean? How many clients have I got to have? What kind of income do I need to be getting? um, what do I need to be doing to get them, or someone else who's going to be working with me? If I'm going to have a team of people, how much profit do I need to be making to be able to employ a team? So it's all that thinking. Just to get to this one thing, I want a 4 hour work week. There's a huge amount of stuff that you have to think about. Right, that's the top desire. It's more than a goal. That's the desire, and then you start going down and say, right, okay, what have we got to do, and then nailing it right down to say, what can I do today to start that in 3 years' time or 2 years' time, I'll reach this desire.
Desire is such a great word, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah,
that's what it's all about. And
yeah,
like you said, people want it now. I think for most people, or at some point, it gets into the head. The desire is passive income, right?
yeah,
And
yeah, really, yeah,
passive
yeah,
income. I mean, for me, passive income is amazing, right? Like passive income is definitely the thing that you should be working towards, right? Now, what happens is that there's two camps. You have the whole kind of influencer, Instagram,
yeah,
work, press three buttons and you'll be a millionaire kind of passive income, right? Which is just like pointless, forget that and everything. You then have the second camp who are just like, oh, passive income doesn't exist, that there's no such thing and stuff like that. And it's again, look, don't listen to them, chuck them to one side. Look at it in the middle, right? Passive income, what it really means by that is that you put in a bulk of effort up front, you put in that sprint, up front to get things working to a point where it is working and you have options then. So the way I like to look at it with this is like, look, you look at a steam train or something like that, it takes a lot of fuel to get going.
yeah,
You're putting stuff in then, as you go along, but you're not constantly putting stuff in, you're just keeping it going along. If you were to look at, say, property investing, you would put a big chunk of money, out first. The big expense is first. The time commitment happens, up front as well. You have to get that property in a way which is fine then to rent out, and you can rent it out. Now, you're not there every day, fixing things and everything like that. There may be things that go wrong. You may need a bit of maintenance along the way, but the bulk has been done. And then you get that passive income. Passive income for me means that you're not there fulfilling it all the time. You're not exchanging your time for money and all that kind of stuff. You can get paid whilst you sleep. That's the thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the secret, isn't it? That you'll never be able to. There'll never be a time when you get to the stage where you can have passive income for the rest of your life and never have to do anything more. There's always going to be a bit of maintenance involved. But there is, like you say, it's a steam, the load, going back to steam trains, I guess. That's the big thing, is there's a huge amount of effort to get the train rolling. And once it's rolling, it starts to cruise. And it's now that there's far less strain on the engine. It's just cruising down at a certain speed because it's built up that energy that's going. And coming back to this thing that, a bit sort of spiritual, if you like, looking at this, but money is energy, isn't it? And work is energy. It's the same thing. So you put a big load of work in to start with, you start getting a form payment of money, which is energy, and so that energy is now just cruising through your life. And every now and then you might want to do a little bit more, so you put in another bulk of effort, and then to get to a higher level of energy, but it's still then just cruising into your life. And then, as you say, choices are brilliant. You have so many choices that you can take, and that could be holidays, it could be helping other people out, it could be anything you like. But the point is, when you're down this right at the bottom, you don't have the choices because you don't have the chance of passive income.
And I think the great thing there as well is like that choice. That choice is up front as well, and how much commitment you want to put into it, right? Because that passive income, the way I've kind of thought about it there is I go back to the days, over 10 years ago when I got involved in internet marketing. It was all just to make a bit of money, right?
Yeah.
So it was all like a bit of affiliate marketing and stuff like that. And get paid whilst you sleep and stuff like that. Money would come in, but it would be, I would do a bit of work, get a bit of money, or, you do a bit of work to set stuff up, that money continues and stuff like that. But if you go deep, and we always talk about this, don't we? Like different levels and stuff like that. You take Jeff Bezos over at Amazon. I mean, you take the time that he put into that to get it going to now passively earning from it, that's passive income, the same if you take the likes of, I guess, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, all these kind of people, the way that they kind of built the business, they put the grind in, they put the hard work in to now passively come from that, or give them the choices to look at expanding. Elon Musk go into space, like, all this kind of stuff. It gives you those choices, but, stripping it all back, the reason I'm kind of getting to this is, look, you get to choose, You know,
Mm.
you get to decide how much effort you want to put into something, how much kind of expense, how much time, and even then, you know, you can look to bring people in to, you know, do the stuff that is going to take too much time from you to actually do it and still make money, still make the profit, which is passive income.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing, isn't it? Because the other thing is you read a book about something, but oh, this is passive. You know, someone talking about passive income. You forget, or they conveniently don't mention it. That I can't remember when Amazon was set up selling books, but Jeff Bezos set up in his garage, and it took him years and years of hard slog to get to where he was even just a few years ago. And obviously now he's really doing well. So, and people think, oh, yeah, I could do that. You think, yeah, but are you willing to put in 30, 40 years probably, Amazon?
Exactly
You
that,
know,
around that, yeah.
a lot of time and effort has gone in and failure for that 40 years to now be earning the kind of money. Okay, yes, he's the one of the richest guys in the world, but that's 40 years he's because he had that desire. And it took him 40 years to get there. So, and some people don't make it. Some people have that desire, the same as he did, and they don't get there. And Tim Ferriss with his 4 hour work week, how long has he been working to get there? That book never mentions it, but everyone thinks, oh yeah, 4 hours. I love that. I love that. It's a great idea. And you think, yeah, okay. Are you willing to put in 30 hours of 30 years of probably quite hard work and also really frustrating work at times, you know. And if you are great, yeah, nothing wrong with that. But that's be real, and comes back to the so I guess the whole strategic plan. You know, people say, yeah, I want that. This is my desire. So then you work it all the way back. Say, right, okay, are you willing to do this much to get to there? Because if you're not, then you'll never get there, and you'll just get frustrated. So you either drop the desire down, or you just say, okay, I will put the work in.
No,
Depends how strong that desire is, doesn't it?
we spoke about this before within sport as well, haven't we? Like
Yeah.
you take a champion boxer, you take a
Oh yeah.
Premier League footballer, you know, anything like that. You take, you know, we've had the women's you know, football team, you know, win the trophy, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they just started playing last week.
No.
You know, it's like they were playing. It's that whole kind of thing of you take the top player and they say, yeah, but can they do it on a cold Thursday night in Stoke? You know,
Yeah,
it's
that's
that
right.
kind of thing. You know, you take some
Yeah.
of these people playing, you know, in the muddy fields and in the rain on a Sunday morning, you know, just to, you know, get their craft to where it needs to be, to have the opportunity to go
Yeah.
forward and stuff like that. And yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's so much there, mate. There's a guy, I don't know if you ever come across this guy, a guy called Alex Hormozy over in the States. He's kind of being positioned now as one of the kind of gurus, right, in this space of kind of business and marketing and growth and stuff like that. And he's had some gyms and that. He's got a book called $100 Million Offers. Mate, awesome book. Rate the guy. Everything he talks about, I'm just nodding along, like, yeah, 100%, right? And he's got a lot of YouTube videos. He's got a lot of podcast episodes and stuff like that. But he's the first one to say at the minute. He's like, I've been doing this for 10 years and you guys didn't even know about me.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know? And is
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
that thing there, like how long does it take to become an overnight success? You know, however long it takes, you know, and it's like, and it's the same with business, it's the same with making money and all that kind of stuff, is that, you know, you learn things as you go on to speed up the process and make things happen. There's a lot of failure behind you, you know, but that one thing then takes off or gives you the opportunity, gives you the options to move in. And I know we're going off on a bit of a tangent here, because we kind of just looked at, look, take time for you. But that
Yeah.
whole kind of point fits in as well, you know. It's just like, you know, I guess that kind of rant I was going on is like, look, don't complain about not getting results if you don't put in the work,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's like, look, if you are putting in the effort and you are getting results, make sure you take time for you.
And I think again that it all fits in though, because again, if you have that, you've got that desire. Say you want the desire is, I'll hark on, keep going about this Tim Ferriss. So the desire is the 4 hour work week. So once you put a plan in place and you start working it backwards and back and say, and yet you say, right, yeah, no, I'm willing to put in that effort. Okay. So then it comes down to what do you need to do this week or what do you need to do today to start this going? But when you've done that, don't carry on. Take time out because otherwise you'll burn yourself out. And again, I know it's difficult when you're when you're young, you've got loads and loads of energy. It's difficult to think that way And maybe you don't need as much time. But the point is, as you say, right, I've got 6 things I need to do today to set this, to start the ball rolling, blah, 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 blah. Once they're done, they're done. And you think, right, now don't worry about the rest of the stuff because that's tomorrow's stuff. I think it was Napoleon Hill. I think it was Napoleon Hill, or one of the guys always said that um, do today's do today's task you set yourself, but don't do tomorrow's task today because they're tomorrow's task. They'll take care of themselves. Just now, you just work on what you've got to do today. At the end of it, yeah, I'm going to take some time out. And that time out is doing something enjoyable that switches your brain off, well, to a certain extent, but gets you to be able to sleep. Because again, the whole sleep thing, people realize how important sleep is now, far more than they ever did, you know? And so it's the whole thing of winding down, being able to give yourself time to sleep instead of just laying awake all night thinking what I got to do tomorrow. And then, and again, this is where I think, discipline gives you freedom. If you have the discipline to plan out your days, say, right, this is when I end. I end my day here. I start tomorrow there. In between time, I have the discipline not to pick up a spreadsheet or not to look at something or not to look at anything work related, because that's me time for family or whatever, time to enjoy myself, to do what I want, and for a bit of sleep so I can come back to tomorrow and be ready to go again. And I think that's where that the discipline gives you that freedom to be able to do that. Otherwise, and I know I've done this in the past, you just end up faffing around, playing around until 10 at night, messing about with this and just trying to get this right. And all of a sudden you think, what have I just done? It's a wasted an evening because you haven't really done a decent job because your brain hasn't been up to it.
I think it's great. I mean, that we touched on it last week as well. We've been banging on about this for however long we've been doing the podcast, where we've said, look, work in blocks. So it's like, you set your day out, and that block is for that one task or those smaller tasks. Right? You
collection.
know what exactly they are. You get on to do them. That time has been allocated for that, and there is a bit of trial and error to begin with because you think you can do 100 things more than what you can actually do in that time.
always.
But the whole point there is that, okay, once it's done, it's done. You can move on to the next one and that. But the good thing is with that, what I really feel happens is that you don't rush the time. So I think so many people, like when they have a long to-do list and they're trying to do stuff, they're just trying to get through the list, and it's like, okay, do this, do that, that's done. And there's different terminology in different places, but you kind of get that that kind of phrase of that will do, and it's like sometimes that will do when it's just like, because it's done, rather than it's done and it's good, or it's done and it's exactly what we need. It's just done. It's kind of just done for and especially if you're in business and stuff like that, you may have staff do that they kind of fudge numbers. There's I listened to a story actually that there's a big you got the US bank, so the bank in America, they've got in trouble recently because the staff members were opening up fake accounts just so they could hit their targets and stuff like that. And it's like, this happened like so many years ago as well in a different bank. But it's like that there is like, what's the real incentive? Like just cheating to get stuff done just for it being done? We're actually doing something that needs to be done because it's the higher purpose to actually get stuff done.
Yeah.
I think there's so many levels on there. But mate, that thing like you said as well, like taking time out for you, right? Just to kind of reset, just to do things right. This moves us on to the second thing that I want to talk about, because I do this. Now, as I said about obviously TV, even some like trash TV, if it's late on a night, I watch that before I go to bed just to switch off, right? But there's times where I take for myself, I get caught up in this whole kind of YouTube cycle. So I'll go onto YouTube and I'll watch a video, and all of a sudden an hour's gone or anything.
Yeah.
But it's like, I've taken that time for me, right? And there's usually kind of 3 sections that I will ever kind of watch, right? So the first one is business, personal development, that kind of stuff. Any of the kind of, I say gurus as if like, is it the kind of bad thing, being a guru? But the gurus, the people I look up to as being my kind of online advisors, mentors, whatever it is, it's like those kind of people that are way ahead of me that I learn from. Now you got that side. The other side is to do with kind of motivation, mainly around kind of workouts and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
the third area, which is like that kind of you know, forget the word I'm looking for now, but that the area that I kind of watch at is anything to do with things like conspiracies and stuff like that, right? If there's anything on the Loch Ness monster or anything like that, I'm watching it, right? And this is what led me up to this clip that I watched today, right? Now, if you're listening to the podcast, you're just like, this is going to go left field, right? Just listen because it's going to come back to a real, business lesson. So I saw this clip and it was Joe Rogan. I don't know if you ever listened to the kind of Joe Rogan podcast. But I rate him. I love him because any conversation he has with people, he gets into those levels of sophistication.
Okay.
So he's not like, I think this, you have to think my way, or because you said it is true. It's like, let's get into this and what about that? And, it really gets into it. So he's interviewing this guy, Neil deGrasse Tyson. I don't think if you've ever come across him. He's like an astrophysicist,
Okay.
all kinds of awards. And I think he gets into a bit of that kind of motivational kind of speeches and stuff like that as well. But anyway, they're talking about UFOs.
Right.
Right. So there's this video from so long ago of this thing called the Tic Tac, and it's like a bit of a bit of some kind of like drone or something like that over the sea somewhere, and it's flashing around, and people are just like, we got no clue what it is.
Right.
So there's a little clip of it and stuff like that. So anyway, they start discussing this, and this Neil deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist, he's like, look, the way that has been framed, as in what the people are saying, makes you think that it's something out of this world. He said because they say, look, this whatever this craft was or whatever it is that we picked up, it shot across at this amount of this speed. It dropped at this in like 1 second, and it's like you couldn't see that with the naked eye. So it's like this is actually picking up from their sensors, right? And he's like, the way if they would have framed it, if they would have said, our sensors say this craft did this, automatically you're going to go towards, are your sensors all right? Did you test it? How do you?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Work, right? Rather than because you couldn't see it with the naked eye moving at this pace and everything like that. Anyway, this moves on then to another story. So this deGrasse, he's basically saying, look, you need to think of it like this. And he says, going back tens of years ago, all these different observation towers around the world, they're all looking at the planets, the solar system, everything like that. He said, and they start to see that one planet is moving slightly, right? And they're just like, this is really strange. And they go, okay, look, it's the gravity from Pluto or somewhere else, and this is happening. And then something else is moving a bit off course, and that's the gravity from somewhere else. And anyway, it comes up that they're just like, there's a planet somewhere, Planet X, we don't know what it is, but the gravity pull is making these planets move and everything like that. And mate, hundreds of people are all looking at this stuff over years, trying to figure out where's this planet? Like, are we in danger? Anything's going on? And this guy comes in, and he's now ahead of it. He's now the head of whatever's going on, and he says, look, give me all the logs. I'm going to have a look at this. So anyway, he starts going through all these logs, and he notices within one of these observation towers, they've had some work done on whatever kind of equipment it is that they're using, right? Some kind of mechanical change. And he's looking at it and he's just like, we start seeing differences from this mechanical change.
Uh-huh.
As soon as this mechanical change happened in this one place, it's knocked out all the different readings of all the other places.
Okay. Yeah.
So he's like, if I take this log out and I just take all these other logs, right, and I go through all these, and that's what he does. And he's just like, the planets have never moved.
Yeah.
They've never gone off course of where they're meant to be. It's what our data was wrong.
Mm.
And so what he was saying is like, look, you're trusting off of the data, but what happens there is like, what your conclusion is only as good as what the data is reporting. And
Yeah.
this is why I'm saying it to you, because I know you love the whole kind of measurement thing.
Yeah.
Right? And we talk a lot about data, and we talk a lot about analytics and getting your data and being able to analyze that and make decisions and stuff. But it actually comes back to, look, what is it you're actually recording? Because if you're recording stuff that doesn't matter, or you're recording the wrong, matters, then whatever data you got in front of you, whatever you're basing your decision off of, is leading you totally down the wrong way.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. Yeah.
the same as well as if like you listen to the wrong people. So you
Yeah.
get people in, they say, oh, because of these numbers, you need to be going off on there, you need to be going off on there. But if they don't have the full picture, or if they don't know that something's changed, or they don't know that something's happening in a certain way because there's a reason, then the data is just pointless.
And I think that there's a really interesting point that comes out from that, isn't it? Is that trusting in the data is really interesting because there's so many opinions, and you just talk about general opinion. So many opinions of people are formed because they read something on Google or they saw something on TikTok, would you believe, or Facebook. And this guy obviously didn't just look at one log, he verified it. He then went to look at something else and he went to cross-refer. Is this right? Is this right? Is this happening? How is that? And so you're cross-checking the data. So you're not just saying, if someone comes to you and say, yeah, this is our sales figures this month. These are our sales figures this month. So okay. And this is our conversion rate. And if you get it for the first time, you need to think, well, is it? One person has told you that, so then you go and check all the check stuff to say if this is absolutely right, which could verify that the data is absolutely correct. You think, right, okay, I can trust what I'm hearing. But so many times the data could be off slightly, just by a change in something or other. I remember doing a course years ago when I used to work in IT, and it was years ago, and it was called. It was to do with systems analysis. I can't remember the actual the course. I can't remember the actual name of the course, but it's really interesting. And it's all about analyzing problems. It's problem analysis, basically. And one example we had to try and think through was a car manufacturing plant, and they had, and I got a feeling it was based on Fiat at the time or something like that. And there were spraying machines that were spraying the roofs of the cars, and the spray was absolutely perfect each time the roof was coming in. And then it started to bubble for no reason. Couldn't work out what it was, and they couldn't work out that the roof, the cars after a certain time period, day, whatever, came out, and there were slight bubbles on the paint, and they couldn't work out what it was. So they were checking everything. Was it the lacquer on the roof before it was sprayed? Was it the undercoat? Blah blah blah. What happened to the machine? Was it checked? What had been done? What this, and they checked virtually everything they could, and at the end of it, they couldn't understand what it was, and everything they're trying to correlate with this data, but what they didn't actually one thing they didn't do was the temperature at the time, and it was the temperature at the time. The weather had changed, I think it become more it had changed and it was wetter than normal. And just that, the weather that was coming, the humidity that was coming through the plant changed the way that the paint laid onto the roof. And it was one person on I can't remember, it was something simple, like one person looked at a thermometer, they had a thermometer in the factory one day, and just noticed it was different. And it was either lower or humidity, I can't remember, lower or high. And it was just that one thing, and it's the thing they hadn't taken into account. So when you want to trust in the data, you really have to know. And once they fixed it by putting seals around the doors and things like this, so that they didn't get the humidity coming into it was fine again. And it's just getting that data right. Someone says, someone comes up with something. I read this on Google. Oh, look at this, it's terrible. Hang on a minute, have you checked that with somewhere else? Can you verify that? And it's that the data has to be verified until we know it's trustworthy. Then we can trust the data. But until that point, it could be giving you any kind of readings, and then people will believe them, say, oh yeah, look what's happened here. And so it really is interesting. And this whole course took us through, when you're analyzing a problem, you've got to look at every piece of information you can, even when you think that something wouldn't make any difference at all. Check it out to see if it's changed. And this correlation was that on that particular day, when they noticed this paint was starting to bubble, was just something that changed. I think either it could have been something, the weather changed and a door seal wasn't right, because this fact, obviously when you're spraying, you have a sealed environment. And I think that was Anyway, that's a long time ago,
No,
but that just gives you that.
that's awesome because I'm even thinking there, like even just we take it into marketing, you could take it into copy and stuff like that as well. Is that if we've got say a page and we've got a whole process working really well, like a whole funnel, a whole system working, and we've got a page that we know converts, right? We want to look to try and increase that conversion rate, but we don't go in there and just go, okay, let's put a new page in.
No,
Because
no.
that would kill it off, right? But what we do there is we go, okay, look, this button's blue. If we changed it to
That's
green,
yeah.
what happens then?
What's the impact? Yeah.
And it's okay, we've got this word here. Well, if we change that one word, or if we, take our heading and we change it by, -2 fonts,
Yeah.
does this make an impact? And we change one thing at a time to get
Yeah.
it. And it is a
Yeah.
scientific experiment, like where
Yeah.
you're getting that data in, and you may even get to a point where you go, yeah, okay, actually, do you know what? If we decrease the size of our header, and we've got the green button now, we've got worse results than as if we had, the normal header and the green button, but the green button is still better than the blue button and stuff like that,
Yeah.
right? And it's like we get into that to go, okay, look, it makes sense to do it. And I think that the big thing there as well is, with all the stuff we spoke about, I think probably the big takeaway from the marketing point of view is like, look, if you're working on getting something working or something is working, keep it working, right? Start adding stuff onto it or around it and building different things, but keep on that thing. I see it so many times, like even now, like you mentioned TikTok. I mean, how many people over the years now, over the last year, have gone, I'm ditching LinkedIn to go over to TikTok, or I'm not going to do this blogging anymore because I've got TikTok. And it's like, right, okay, the other stuff was paying you money, right? Or the other stuff was bringing you customers in. You've just ditched that now to go and start again and start from zero, basically, over on a new platform to try and pull people off. And then you get 6 months down the line and it's just not working, or, do you know what, even deeper, how many people do you see that look to grow their business, right? And they look to jump steps. So it could be that, okay, look, this is a perfect example, right? How many graphic designers, right, going back a couple of years ago were self-employed that are now employed, right? It's quite a big number, right? And the reason for it is, I know a lot of them, the prices went up because they would start off doing small jobs and they would be getting money in, and then someone would convince them that they need to grow their business, right? So they need to be taking on bigger projects and stuff like that. Well, they couldn't get the bigger projects, but they stopped doing the smaller work. So they ran out of money, they ran out of cash flow to keep them going because they're trying to chase the bigger work and deal with what it is, And that there goes across all different kind of levels of business, is that you still have to keep the money coming in before you get to the next level. Once you get to the next level, you're on that level then.
Yeah. And there's something that comes out of that, really comes out. There's something I've always maintained that, so when you run a business, when you start a business and you're selling a service or a product, you're serving the customer. Okay. If the customer doesn't want what you have to offer, it's not, you have to change your offer because you're serving it. The whole point is, so running a business is always a service related type approach. You create a product, great, but if it doesn't fill any kind of value for anybody, no one's going to buy it. So you think it is the best product in the world. So it's all about giving service. Okay. So going back to your analogy there with the designers, the graphic designers. So they were offering a service to people that people wanted. Okay. So people really loved this service. Yeah. And they were selling it. But because they're saying, right, but I want to now chase the money and stop serving people, because now you've changed your reflection. You're now thinking, oh, I'm serving all these people, but I'm not making enough money. I want to chase the money. Your emphasis changes. And now because you're not serving, you don't get anywhere, especially if you drop the product that we're serving people, because people are going to say, well, you're not serving my needs anymore. I'll go to someone who can. So you lose your customer base that were quite loyal to you because they've gone to someone else who's probably offering maybe even inferior service to you, but it's closer to their needs. And you're saying, I've got this brand new product. So here was this I had this Mini Cooper or a BMW Mini nowadays, and now I've got this Rolls Royce. And people say, "But I don't want a Rolls Royce. I love the BMW Mini." Yeah, but this is better value. Not to me, it isn't, and that's the whole point. It's better value isn't what you think is better value. Is you've got to go and test the market. Say to them, look, we're selling you BMW Minis at the moment, but do you fancy Audi A5s? And it's beyond, not quite Rolls Royce. And they say, yeah, actually, I would. Brilliant. So you now start selling a different product. And then eventually one might say, I really fancy a Rolls Royce. Bang, there's your product. You think, right, okay, here you go. All bells and whistles, And too many people just jump without, like you said, they jump but they're not only jump, but they drop what they were doing before. And instead of saying, hang on, let's test the market. So going back to the graphic designers, let's test the market. If we offer this as well as what we're doing, how many people will be enticed to go from, that looks better value for me and more about what I need, and move and make that transition. Suddenly say, we've got this, but now we've got this. Do you want it or not? Is this something you'd like? Or even better, ask them in the first place. Okay, we've got this. You love this product, but what don't you like about it? And what could we improve? And so many business owners don't do that because they think that, oh my God, you're going to lose all the customers. Yeah. And in fact, that's the best thing to do. You ask your existing customers who are already paying you money, what better can we give you? Bang, and you're service related.
That there is business growth, right? I mean, that's how you look at business growth, right? And do you know what, man? Not picking on graphic designers and stuff like that. It's just sorry. I know several that's happened to, right? But
okay.
But you look across different sectors, and it's exactly the same. Now I know that the past few years have been different. We've never seen that before and stuff like that. And a lot of people, had to set up businesses and stuff like that. It took the time to set up a business during that time to make some money to help people and actually maybe follow the dream that they had. But they got to the point where they're either frustrated or someone's been in there telling them they need to be growing and stuff like that. Don't exchange your time for money. You can't take a holiday, you don't have a business kind of thing, right? But the whole point there is that if you look to skip steps, you're going to struggle, right? If you're going to move into that kind of area, so like that whole kind of thing of you've got that kind of you've now moved into the Audi A5 kind of market, right? And that you can serve the Rolls Royce people, right? You still focus, but you establish yourself in that market, and you establish yourself until you build up that way where you can actually deal with a Rolls Royce client, But in that time, you're still moving along with the Audi A5. Everything's fine, but that they just do that drop, that drop to where it's just like you're starting from zero. You're not starting from a new level. You're starting from zero. Where if you actually establish yourself, you're starting from a new level. So you already bring that credibility across because you're establishing yourself over time. But we know plenty of coaches and stuff like that have done exactly the same. Where they've struggled, to kind of get to that kind of level. They've jumped. That's we spoke about this on the podcast before, where the kind of advice that is usually told out there is up your prices, right? And we've said, yes, most people are undercharging, or they're trying to add too much in to what they're serving people with. But once you start upping your money, you start upping the level, and the different levels of sophistication and different outcomes that are required require a different skill set. And if you don't have that, you're going to find that you're going to lose quite quickly, because you can't deliver on what it is you're trying to deliver on. And that there is what's wrong with the coaching, marketing, personal development world that's out there. Is there'll be people who have watched a course, read a book, and are now teaching it, but they've only took a fraction of that book and they've interpreted how they think that is right, and now they're giving it. I'm not even going to get into this rant, but I see it all the time. You get onto social media and people are giving out advice, and you're looking at it, you're just like, that's poor advice, that's only a fraction of it. The bigger picture is actually this, and it's like, okay, it's like, anyway, we won't get into that kind of rant. What I do, mate, just to flip my kind of way as well. Do you know what, actually, you were talking in then, and I was thinking that I can remember talking with this person a little while back, and you're usually the mindset person. Like, I didn't get
No.
into that, but someone was struggling to make the money that they wanted to make, right? And they kept every time, I spoke with them, it was need to make X amount of money, right?
Yeah.
Or I need X amount of clients, right? And it was always like bang, 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 money, clients, money, clients. And I was just like, how about you switch it and just say next month I need to help three people, three of this type of people, the people who you serve,
Mm.
achieve what it is that you provide.
Mm.
Just like that, mate. The
Yeah.
difference happened. And it's
Yeah,
like
changed.
just
Totally
just by
changed.
that switch where it's just like you are serving, you're not just trying to
And that's the difference. You can still be serving and making money. I'm not saying do everything for free or a low cost, but I'm saying is that instead of money being the main objective, which yeah, of course you want to keep your business afloat, and we all want to make more profits. So we all want to make more turnover, more profits, and that's a given. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. You wouldn't go into business. But when you change that thinking to say, hang on, how better can I help somebody? What more can I give them that they want? So that's the point. Is that you can put all sorts of bells and whistles onto something. But if your customer says, yeah, but I don't care because I'm not going to press that button or I'm not going to blow that whistle, it's pointless. So go to them and say, but when you go to them and say to them, okay, we've got this product, really works for it. What extra would you like? And they, oh, I'd love to have this and this and this. Well, okay, we can do that. There'll probably be a bit more of cost than I said, yeah, no, but if I have it, I love it. So you're growing, you're making more income from the same customer, and you're in service. That's the whole point. You're serving that customer's needs better, and they're paying you for it because money is a medium of exchange. So you're exchanging
yeah.
extra value to them, and they're exchanging their money for you back to you. So it's there you go.
And I mean, we've done so many episodes on your offers and stuff like that, and I think we'll probably do more,
Yeah, I'm
moving
sure.
forward. But that there, mate, it's just so right, isn't it? Look, you're being paid. It's a value exchange, the value that you're giving someone, the way
Yeah,
how you can help them. And we spoke about this before with upsells. A lot of people shy away from upsells because they think, they're trying to sell more to that person, they're trying to take more money off that person. But if you just reframe it in a way where you just say, okay, look, there is additional help that you can have to make
yeah,
your
yeah.
journey quicker, better, more comfortable, safer, whatever it is, it's additional then that they can go, okay, this makes sense. I want to add that on. And so there's so many things like that. I think, mate, do you know what? I think we've been quite some time on this one.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a quick little story, and then I'll let you kind of take some bullet points of the whole kind of episode, and you can tell us what the next episode is going to be about. But going back to that whole kind of thing you said about who you take, who you listen to, what kind of data you take stuff from. I mentioned this story on the podcast before, but I think it's such a great story. It's worth listening to again. And it's that you've got this family, they sit down to dinner, and they've got this lamb. We can say it's a vegan kind of lamb as well, not to upset anyone, right? But
Yeah.
we've got this lamb, and the ends are cut off, right? And the man turns around to the woman. He says, why do you cut the ends off the lamb anyway? I've been meaning to ask you. And she just said, oh, my mother always did it like that. And he said, oh, well, why? Let's find out why. Let's phone your mother. So they phone the mother and they say, oh, when you cook the lamb and everything like that, you cut the ends off before you cook it and everything, right? Like, why is that? And she says, oh, my mum always did it that way. And they're just like, okay, let's phone grandma, let's ask her,
Mm.
And they phone grandma and they say, look, when you cook the lamb, you cut the ends off before you cook it, right? She's like, yeah, like, why do you do that? So I've never had a big enough tray. And it's like that there. It's like, you're doing things now because of, a way that you've been taught or a way that has been framed to you. But actually, you could be doing it a different way that is better, that actually has a better outcome just by changing or tweaking or, being able to do something which is now available that wasn't available before.
Yeah, amazing. It's and I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like you say, we do things because that's the way it's always been done. And sometimes you think, yeah, well, that was then. The market's changed. People need to do
Technology,
it. So
all sorts.
technology, everything. So why are we still doing it that way? And why can't we invest in a bigger trade? Let's buy bigger trades.
Yeah,
Oh,
and that's it. And that's exactly it. Like you said, I think you put that into today's market, and we spoke about it before. Buying habits have changed, attention has changed, technology's changed. You can use all this to your advantage. If you're doing stuff that was working 3 years ago, it's probably not working now, or it's evolved in a way where it's working even better. If you adapt, it's going to work even better for you.
Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, I like that. I do like that story. It's good.
Yeah,
Really good.
I'll hand it back to you. Let's recap this episode, and then obviously we'll be back next week to do it all again.
Yeah. So it's been good. It's been really good. We've talked a lot about different things. I think so. For me, the things that have come out is that thinking about going back to the data. That story you have with the data is trusting the data, but make sure you verify the data before you plump to trust it. Okay, I'll trust this source once I know everything about it. And like you said, with the observatories, where they realized that they just tinker with something, and all of a sudden it was changing all the data. So definitely measurements, measure your progress, like we said before. I kind of onto that, wouldn't we? But measure the things that you need to measure, the right things, and take into account everything that can affect something. And so verifying the data, measuring, and I think again the thing we came on to the end of it is there's one other is think of service and not chasing the money. And it could almost be the same thing. You can almost be doing the same actions, but you change your mindset from I'm not chasing the money, I'm understanding the value I can, the higher value I can give people who might be willing to exchange their sort of money for it. And then that lovely thing about buy bigger trades. I like that story. Yeah, don't always do it the way it's been done for years and years, because everything, technology is changing, still changing at such a pace. Processes, software that's available, people skills, everything. So just keep evaluating what you do and work out why you're doing it. And I know you talked a bit briefly, just alluded to it a bit earlier, didn't you? Why are you still doing this? Why are we still using this size tray? Why are we still cutting the ends off the lamb? And instead of just doing it, and one person, the husband, sort of saying, "Why?" Just asking that question.
I think that's really good. That's such a good question, isn't it? Why?
Yeah, why? Brilliant. Yeah, and I don't know what we'll do next week. I'm sure that next week we'll come along and we'll just record and go for it again. So I don't know, but it'll probably be something to do with the whole burnout, life health balance again, because work health balance. Sorry, because I'm a bit of a crusader on that now from the events I've had. But I think it's really, really important for so many people.
Yeah, definitely. I think I know we've had a conversation before where we talked about burnout at different levels in business. So I think maybe that's something we can
I think
look at, because even though a lot of people look to grow and they look to bring people in to support them, but they end up being more burnt out by doing that, than what they were before. And then even you get to a level where maybe you're the owner or you're a director and you're caught up in everything. So I think that would be good to talk about, and I'm sure we'll get into a few stories and a few questions why on
definitely.
What we do.
I think next week we'll talk about that whole growth and burnout, and there's a money thing. I can talk about that as well, because I think that's really, really, really useful to do. Yeah, okay, bud. That's what we'll do.
Let's do that. So look, as always, mate, it's been a pleasure.
Indeed, it has. It's been great. It's been really good.
See you next time.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Cheers, David. Yeah. Bye bye.